if anyone's around, I'll go through how to write your own. And after that, I'll talk a little bit about the Patreon channel that I've launched and what that might mean for you. Okay, let me zoom back. Also, if you've been listening to these meditations and there's an element of them that you enjoy more than others, would you please DM me and let me know what it is? And hey, Phil. And also, I would like to know if there's anything I'm not covering that might be helpful to you. Uncle Mitch! Oh, this is so exciting. All right. So if you're just joining, I'm reading several pages of alternative sentences, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can write your own and what to do with them. And then after that, I'll talk about the Patreon channel that I launched this week. It's still in development, so that basically means that you're going to grow with me. Everything's not there. What a cool experience. Okay. So for this, I'll have you take a few deep breaths. And when you're breathing, put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. If you can, get the belly hand to lift. So if you're breathing up here and your chest hand lifts, it's a different sensation. It's basically telling your body you're not safe. So if you can, like, breathe down through here. There's a better explanation to that. One day I'll get to it. Okay. I trust myself and self. I live and breathe in harmony with all that is right now and always. I see and feel unlike anyone else. I listen to and love my inner guidance. I know. I have so much fun and brighten every room naturally. I'm committed to calling forth my best self every day. It brings me and all the greatest joy. I live on the bright side as it is a natural symptom of being here in truth. I live with passion and purpose, and it lives in me. I live a life I love truly and entirely. I let my light shine. I always look within to know what is real. I keep it real and playful, light and fun. I have the best time every day. I take full responsibility for my life and love all of myself. I recognize each day as a life within itself and do the best I can, easily and naturally. It's who I am. I know the secret ingredient is love, and so I put it in everything I do. I'm in whole and peaceful integrity with life. I am honest with myself and others. I do the best I can every day. It's so easy for me to create in truth. I'm a creator and visionary. I love to work. It feels so good. I inspire people to be free, to be who they truly are, naturally. Every day I focus on what I love, and I'm in awe of the love that returns to me in so many forms. I have so much fun. I absolutely love my life. I love that it is unique and perfect for me. It's so easy for me to relax into this greatness inside and out. I'm surrounded by abundance and notice its blessings endlessly. I'm so grateful for my path. I'm so blessed, lucky, and supported. I'm religious in my devotion to be in my heart, as I know there is no other way and it is natural and perfect. My power is in my focus, honesty, soul, heart, and mind. I need only live in truth. It's fun, easy, and rich. I focus on God, truth, and being honest with myself and in my actions. I enjoy wild, amazing abundance in every sense of the concept. I am led by God, love, and desire. They are the same. I am divinely guided and supported and help others rejoice that they are too. I always say what I mean and mean what I say. I create and love every day. It is my joy and destiny. It's so fun to focus creation on so many levels. I'm a light and a leader just by being in my heart and open to all that is. I'm divinely guided and supported always. Okay. So let's say that you wanted to do your own. Hey, Jason. Hey, Mike. Let's say you wanted to do your own alternative sentences. The reason that I'm calling them that instead of affirmations is that it seems like with affirmations, there can be this gap that you feel between where you are and where you think you should be. And so when you're saying the sentence, you're like, fingers crossed, like, please be true, please come true. And that holds you apart from it energetically. So what I'm looking for in these is more of, it's like, if you can find that seed within that's like, hey, actually, I am sort of that, and I do kind of believe that, and write your sentence in a way that reminds you that that is your reality, rather than try to overwrite the reality that you're experiencing. A lot of the, does anyone have a sentence they want to practice with? One way, and another thing to focus on is sometimes it's easy to identify what it is that we don't want. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to be that. If you can start there, see what that points towards as far as what you do want. So are you looking, let's say, like, I don't want to, maybe what you're saying doesn't sound like I don't want this. Maybe it sounds like, why is this happening? How do I fix this? Where it's still focused on the problem. What you can do is kind of think of that as like a wall in a swimming pool. And if you know where the wall is, like, push off of it and use that as your starting point to write your sentence. So let's say, like, your sentence is, why do I feel, or what you hear yourself saying more often than you'd like to is, why do I feel so tired? And so the alternative sentence might be something like, I am grateful that I experience moments of vibrant energy. I love that when I wake up on some days, I feel light, excited, inspired. So what I'm doing there is finding that thread of experience that matches the bigger one you want to have, and reinforcing that by saying that instead. So a lot of the stuff that I've found in working one-on-one with clients is that they are this far from the experience that they want to have, but their dialogue is just rooted in the old way. And so it's like they keep saying it's raining, it's raining, it's raining, but it stopped raining a while ago. They just haven't learned to notice the sun. And if you find that you're in the same problem set over and over and over, maybe a good place to start would be to, like, take a breath and say, like, you know what? Is this true all the time? Do I feel that way all the time? Is this a problem all the time? And if not, maybe there is that thread of experience that you can speak to and remind yourself of in the morning. And so that's kind of what I found for these to be most helpful of, is that I'm reminding myself where I would like to focus, the reality that I would like to experience. And it doesn't mean that it is in contrast to perhaps like the opposite. So let's say if we go back to the tired example, if you notice that you still feel tired later in the afternoon, never deny your experience. The best thing you can ever do, ever, is this. And you say, like, it's okay. I'm tired right now. That's okay. I notice that I'm tired. I feel really tired. I'm kind of scared that I'll be tired later. What if I don't have energy to do that? That's okay. I notice that I'm scared. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Rick. Hey, Randy. So what I'm talking about today are alternative sentences and some things that you can do with them to lead your experience in a way that feels better. So what would be the point of having, like, a quote unquote better experience? I think this is really interesting to explore, and something that we don't really understand. And I say that because if we have this pressure to, let's say, like, you know that when you know what it's like to feel good, and you don't, and you apply pressure to yourself when you don't feel good to feel good. So you're like, okay, shit's going wrong. Like, let's troubleshoot. I need to get back to there. I need to get back to there. I need to get back to there. And so where you are, which was like, meh, to begin with suddenly gets worse because it's in contrast to this way that you think you should be. So what I found is that in being in a place that feels good, the only point is that you feel good. And so rather than think that you need those internal conditions to find that sense of relief, bring those internal conditions to the moment where shit's fucked up. So no matter what's happening, if you can bring that language, that frame to what's happening, you can access feel good regardless of the internal or external circumstance. So I know that sounds kind of like counter intuitive and probably wrong. Let's use an example. So perhaps you have you've been in the awareness game for a while, and you notice that you are not handling a let's say something's unsettling you. You have like a circumstance that's changing, a job that's changing, somebody's coming into or out of your life, and you know that you ultimately will be okay. However, you are having an internal experience that is angry or sad or scared, and then there is a layer of awareness beyond those emotions and thoughts that's like, you know better, you shouldn't think that, everything's fine, like why are you freaking out? What I'm suggesting is, if you can take that awareness and say, hey, maybe this is leading to something, maybe this is okay, maybe this is perfect, then that expectation gap closes even around the internal experience, and you're like, well, here we are, yep, this is what's happening. And somehow that relaxation allows for that sensation to be honored and ultimately dissipate. It's a pretty tricky, it seems like, so a lot of the people that come across my desk have been in situations that were really uncomfortable. And so maybe that is like some kind of traumatic acute experience or traumatic chronic experience. And they are conditioned to believe that somewhere else, some later time, will be better than where they are right now. And that pattern is so strong that when things are okay where they are, they're still trying to get somewhere else. And this is sort of the bulk of the work that I do with clients, where you come to a place where you become confident in yourself and accepting of all that is, in a way that you remind yourself that you don't have to be afraid of the places and times beyond where you are. So you can kind of relax and not be on high alert. And it takes a lot of practice. The nervous system needs to adapt. And so this client type is also very smart and very determined and willful, and is like, yo, I'm doing the work. Why isn't it fucking changing? And I have to like really, do this and say like, well, right, you noticed that it could be different here, but you still have like some momentum to ride out until it comes to stillness. That's okay. And sometimes this line actually looks like this, but if you look at the trend line overall, it goes down. And that is one of the benefits of having data involved in this process, where you can start to notice your own up and down cycle in a way that frees you from fear. So whenever shit's going wrong, or things are harder than they were the day before, or blah, 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 you're like, that's okay. That's just the way that I roll. So I'll get new information in. I'll apply it in a way that allows for relief. Shit goes wrong, I freak out, and then it happens. But the overall trend line is that you're actually getting better at whatever skill it is that you're practicing. Okay. Does anybody want to expand on any of that stuff? Mike, is it hot in Canada today? Okay. So we talked about alternative sentences. The last thing I'll leave you with today is, it can be super, super helpful. Thanks, guys. It can be super helpful to have a kinesthetic reminder or a pattern interrupter to bring yourself out of those spaces. So if you've seen my space and timeline. And if anybody has the skill set to patent that or copyright it or trademark it and wants to trade, holler at you, girl. So here's like time and space. In the center is here and now. We've got the future, the past, what other people are doing relative to me, what I'm doing relative to other people. And our mind goes these different places where it can't do shit. So the objective is always to try to come back to the center place. And one way to do that when you notice your mind is somewhere else is first be nice to you, because you're trying your damnedest. So if you're over here in the past or you're like thinking about what someone else is doing, it's okay. That makes sense. Remember the momentum rider? It's okay. So when you notice that you're somewhere else, just be like, oh, you silly little monkey, like back to the center. We're coming to the center. We're right here. We're right here. If you've read any Aldous Huxley, one, he's brilliant, but two, an island, there are parrots on this enlightened island that just bark. I don't know what parrots do. Tweet. There are parrots that yell, here and now, here and now, here and now. And so whatever kinesthetic cue works for you, and kinesthetic means like your body. It's sometimes, this is one I gave to a client the other day that I really liked. I'm going to recycle. But one thing you can do whenever you notice that you're judging what your current status is, inside or outside, relative to another point. So that's saying like, I should have more money. I should have this. I'm doing this wrong. When you notice you have that, what you could imagine is that perhaps that's right on schedule towards something else. And so you kind of look down on your watch and you're like, right on time. It's really challenging to see how the pieces build so beautifully whenever we're busy judging them against a script. And the script would be just sort of like this median or this average that we've been conditioned to believe is real through really like, I say sneaky because you don't notice that it's happening, but it's not sneaky in the intention, in the point that it was supposed to be like malicious. It's just sneaky in that you don't notice that you are now recording something as a benchmark. And so when you see things on TV, when you read things, you think like, oh, at X point is Y, at Z point is this, at blah, 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 blah. And so you kind of have this like subconscious register of where you think you should be, this map of where you think you should be. And then you've got your life, which is somewhere else. And whenever you're judging your life, which is your own unique unfolding, which you couldn't possibly understand or plan, against this, you feel that you're doing something wrong and then you're scared. But if you can bring those things together, this is sort of peace. And then it's almost like you can use that ground, that focus. Because think how much bandwidth is wasted whenever you're busy thinking about where you aren't. What are you doing when you're thinking where you aren't? You ain't doing shit, you know? So can you allow yourself to accept that when you are measuring yourself against any kind of, like when you're just saying like, I'm doing this wrong, really question if that dialogue is helping you do anything better. Are you getting anywhere from that? Let's see, it's Mike is in Canada and he said it's super hot, 90, which is toasty. And this is resonating. Thank you. Okay, so what else? This was not the direction I had intended to take this. If this type of conversation is useful to you, so now I'm going to drive towards Patreon. I am launching as a creator on Patreon. If you don't know what that means, it's pretty much just another platform that is better supported and structured to better support and structure the work that I offer. So the chats that I've been doing on Instagram and more organized content will be available there with tags. So let's say you do the Good Seats membership. It's tiered. That's $8.88 per month while I figure out what the fuck I'm doing. And you can... somebody's in Wales. Hey, Leslie. Oh, man. This is so great. All right, so before I go further, there's also an option for and lounge access on Patreon, which is a forum for people to kind of like mix, mingle, and meet. And I can't tell you enough, like, the people I've met on Instagram are honestly like my besties now, and I absolutely adore them. And it's been so incredible to connect across it's like in your little regular life, like your local community, it can be difficult to really appreciate somebody's weirdness. But on Instagram, everybody's weirdness is all out. And so you're like, oh, that's the same as mine. Like, let's chat. So I've been really fortunate to build out a network on here of really amazing people who are weird in the same way, but differently. And the lounge access feature on Patreon will allow you guys to meet each other. So I run a club. I don't know if you remember the High Vibe Curious Hustler Club, circa 2019. And then I've done some underground salons that I've hosted. So just kind of like Zoom parties before Zoom parties were Zoom parties. And it's just amazing to see everybody kind of come together. And so it's a no pressure zone. You just sort of become aware of each other. You start to follow each other. Oh, I like what you said. Oh, yeah, well, we're friends. So that's really exciting. That's the and lounge access option on Patreon. Then between those two, so I've talked about Good Seats and the lounge access. Between those two, there's an option for and snacks, which is basically digital support for the things that I talk about. What the fuck is digital support for the things that I talk about? It's basically like spreadsheets. Who doesn't love a good self-development spreadsheet? It doesn't seem like that would be helpful, but honest to God, it's so helpful, because it's like your life versus your mind, and seeing things analytically or in data and it presented as data helps them come into like alignment. And so you're like, wait, I've been saying this thing about myself to myself that's not even fucking true. And so then you don't have to fight it. It just falls off. Beyond that, it can be helpful in leading questions. So what I read earlier with the alternative sentences is saying like, hey mind, rather than focus on this shit today, focus on this shit. With the habit book or other structures like that, I'll give you or clients or in this format, the Patreon patrons, new things to focus on in a way that they start to like blot out the things you don't want to focus on. And then after that, so those are the 3 tiers: Good Seats and snacks and lounge access. I also added a 4th one to experiment with called And a Call. And so those would just be chats with me. With clients, if I'm working with someone in an entourage model, it's a little bit different because there's an overall structure to our work and the engagement has certain directives that we're accomplishing. Some clients still just pull me in outside of that structure for one-on-one calls, and they can be really helpful just to have another perspective outside that's like, oh, did you consider looking at it like this? If you're not sure if you would like to work with me, I do the 20-minute discovery call that's for free, and there are also a fuck ton of testimonials and my story highlights that kind of are, I mean, in summary, they're basically like, wow, that was really nice. I was surprised. I never did that, and I really liked it. Okay. So what did we do today? We talked about alternative sentences, how to write your own. Then I went into God knows what about closing the gap between your mind and your life. And then I talked a little bit about Patreon. I'm very open and interested to hear what resonates the most with you as far as topics. I don't know if you were around when I was like, hey, was this helpful? Hey, was this helpful? After each video presentation. And I think I've narrowed towards like what is most helpful to the people that show up in my world. But if there's ever anything I'm not talking about that you would like to talk about, I'm fucking open. I might not do it, but listen. And if you were around yesterday morning, I had a couple guests come on. So they were clients that became friends, or friends that are clients. And they talked about their experience. Matthew talked about CBDG and gut health, and then talked about the work that he does in holiday events. And then Isaac came on and talked about his vlog, and we talked a little bit about finding and addressing discomfort in your heart. Hey Phil, yeah, no, it's been really beautiful. Okay, actually I'll close with that because I think it's a really powerful practice that's not always understood. So in coming to the present moment, going back to my space and time graph, it can be in the other book. Let's wait. Let's be serious. It's just 2 lines. I'll redraw it. Okay. So in coming to the here and now, so this is my space and time graph. We've got the past, the future, what other people are doing relative to me, what I'm doing relative to other people. And I'm saying, like, when your mind is in these other places, you basically lose your creative power because you can't do shit in them. All you can really do anything with is the moment that you're present. And in coming to the present, there can be treasures waiting for you, which are basically feelings that you weren't safe to feel before. And so it can look like you're doing stuff wrong as you move towards resting in this place more often, because things that you had been avoiding feeling come up, and you might take that feedback as you're doing something wrong, but really it's just that they're being acknowledged and released so that this present moment is somewhere safe for you to be. So again, I tend to attract, because this has been my experience, people who have been through a lot of pain and trauma. And so this can be a really uncomfortable process, but if you know that's what it is, it's really, it's more manageable and digestible. If this is something that's new to you and you want assistance with it, I'm happy to talk to you. The overall practice is still one of self-soothing, where you honor and notice that you're having emotions without trying to solve them. And I think one of the best frames to understand that is to almost imagine that you were talking with a child, and that child is like your little you, and your little you is pissed. Your little you is very sad. Your little you doesn't know what the fuck is next. And so you just say, you don't try to logic them out of it. You don't try to solve it. You just kind of hold them and say, like, that's okay. Yeah, I see you're scared. I see you don't know what's next. I see that I know that you're feeling sad. And as you bring your awareness to those emotions, they kind of lose their power, and it's a very, very profound and beautiful experience that sometimes sucks, but on the other side, there's so much peace. Okay, thank you everyone for coming out today. Great to see some of my regs and my new peeps. And if this has been helpful for you and you are interested in more content like this and supporting tools and community, please check out my Patreon channel, patreon.com/habitbook. Like I said, you are coming in on the ground, and so you will grow with me, which basically means there's not much there, but it should be really fun. If you've been around, you know that this is my jam, so I'll be there. Thank you so much for that feedback, guys. Really great to see you. Enjoy your days.